morning, sip of beer. Hey y'all. Hey, good morning. How y'all doing? Happy hump day, everybody. I hope everybody ready to hump. Hebrews, I knew you would fall asleep. You never hung out that late. Y'all know I got a million alarms going off around. Yeah. Thank you for that link, Hebrews. Y'all make sure y'all go over there and support. Go over there and support Bryna and the new addition to her family and her platform. The 227. Okay, the Philly edition. Y'all know that shit is on fire. And you know it's on fire because you got people just talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. And that's what, it is what it is. All publicity is good publicity, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Raina and her crew on that idea. I think it was very, very creative. Y'all know it be off the chain. We love it. We love it. So I will be promoting that for Raina. Shout out to Raina, who's always supported Superville, who's always supported True Thursday Flexing and Moneyboy Trey. Is she almost at 1,000? E Brooks, how many she got, boo? Keep dropping that link. Is that the backup channel? How many she got? Yeah, we gotta get the backup porch monetized. Yes. Y'all know we be on missions around. Oh, 88. Okay. We gotta work on that. We got to work on that. Thank you, boo. Thank you for that. Make sure you continue to drop those links, ebooks. Thank you so much, sweetheart. I appreciate you so much. Okay, y'all, we're gonna get into what we came here for today. I have no clue what my co-hosts are. I do know that D Truth was feeling under the weather last night. He texted me this morning and said he's feeling better. Don't know if he's feeling 100, well enough to hit the link. So y'all just continue to keep him, just send up a little prayer for D Truth. D Truth caught the cooties. Claims he got them from me, child. But he did say he was feeling much better this morning. Okay. So yeah, we're gonna get into this third episode of the Alec Murdaugh jailhouse phone conversations, okay? So we can get this part over with so we can get into the trial, all right? Because I know a lot of people are waiting and anticipating us, just pretty much listening and reacting to the trial, okay? So, let me get myself together. With that being said, y'all please be sure to hit the like button if you don't mind. He done caught the vapors. Not the vapor juice, Kim. Girl, he got the cooties. He got the cooties. He sounded sick last night, honey. It was awful. He did reach that 1K though. Shout out to D True. Shout out to Miss Liz. He did reach that 1K. Yes, baby. That's what we do over here. We're gonna get our sis up there. We're gonna get our Raina pool up there. This is what we do. We work hard over here in these creeks. You hear me? So with that being said, I'm gonna get the show started. So we can get through this. I need to get through this episode today. I really honestly need to get through with this part 3 of the phone conversations to stay on track. Okay, because y'all know I was off track. We're a week behind, honey, because last week I was in too deep and I wasn't even coming over to this channel. I gotta stop that. So y'all make sure y'all hit the like button to get me back in the Al Green rhythm. Be sure to hit the like button and also feel free to hit the cash app and support the channel. Support this hashtag content that matters. Okay? Alright, with that being said, y'all, let's listen. Let's listen. Let's see.
The timeline of the mission to get Buster back into school.
And if I don't hear from him, I might get in touch with Butch to see if you can call him and say that I've been trying to get in touch with him. All right.
So basically, when we got into this, hey Charlene, basically when we got this on yesterday, y'all, we basically heard Alec Murdaugh pretty much bullying Buster to do what he needed to do to get back in school, get back into law school. And they had paid this guy to make something happen that didn't happen. They were both upset, disappointed about things not going the way they, wanted them to go. All right. So this is where we continue today.
Paid all the money that he was owed?
Yes.
Okay.
Up front, and it was up front, and it was 30 grand up front and 30.
I mean, with the contingency on if it was successful, I'm just making sure I don't want to call him if he's not have the shit he has. It's straight to hell.
Nah, he knows he's totally paid.
I mean, would he be willing to do something like that, you think?
Absolutely. But I would do it yourself first. I just say, hey, just following up, the holiday.
No, I will. But I mean, if you got answers by the back end of this week, and we get into the middle of next week, then something's got to be done for me to reach.
That's what I'm saying. When do classes start?
January 5th.
5th? Yeah, that's why. And really, you need to send it tomorrow. And if you haven't heard from him by Friday, and I'd say something real nice, just like, hey, just following up.
Remember that phone call? We do. The next day, Buster updates Alec on his conversation with Butch. Notice Buster brings up terms when it comes to his law school readmission status.
I was just seeing, was that him?
No, it wasn't, but I ended up getting in touch with him anyway.
Okay, what did he say?
He said that he didn't tell you that the terms were going to be changed.
That's just not true. Me and Jim were on the phone. So what's he saying if you started the fall?
Well, I started thinking about it, and he said that he didn't specifically say the terms would be changed, but then I thought about it more, and I was like, well, if I do it in the fall, then they would have to change, because you can't make someone count, but, if I were to take it, then what I would do in there would have to count.
That's what we need to find out. He said he didn't tell me that he thought you could start fresh in the fall.
Well, no, he said I could start in the fall, but he said that he wasn't aware of any amendments being changed to the agreed upon terms.
But since you've already taken that semester, how would they count it?
Yeah, I agree. I thought about that too. But I talked to him, and he's going to reach back out to him and say, like, hey, if he's willing to, to put off his aspirations for another length of time, we think it'd be good to go ahead and just let him, start from zero.
I'm telling you, Buster, do a 3-way and get Jim on the phone.
Quick note here. We've read the jail handbook several times. 3-way calls are against the rules. We will talk about that in another episode.
Why?
I want to see if I'm crazy or that's what he told us.
Jim's in a meeting. I was texting him. I wasn't doing anything else.
All right. I swear that's what he told us.
Well, I mean, there's obviously just a lapse in communication, or maybe you assumed it. I don't know, which I think it's easy to assume now because...
No, man, I'm telling you. Because it made no sense to me. And I was like, I'm just telling you. That's what I'm telling you. All right, let me let you go. I'm going to try to call you back a little later. It sounds like you're busy. I just want... Well, I know how much I put on you and how much pressure there is on you, and I just want whatever's best for you.
This is one of the few times Alec acknowledges an awareness of what Buster might be experiencing as his son. It seems to energize Buster because he begins to talk more about what he wants to do.
Well, I can go ahead and tell you that if the terms are changed and if
you don't have to make an extra high GPA.
Yeah, and then I see myself probably going with that. But if the terms are not changed, then I'm going to do it now because there's no point.
I don't disagree with that. I think that's logical thinking. And, I think you can go there and do real good, but it's going to be hard for you to get a high GPA because, because
of how low the one is. I understand.
That's right. So even if you made 4.0s for 5 semesters, still the highest you could get up to would be about a 3.
Math is hard sometimes, but Alec continues.
I'm just using that as an example.
Send them right now. What? Nothing. I'm listening.
All right. I can tell you're busy. I'll call you a little bit later. I love you. Is Butch gonna give you detailed options? But
hang on 1 minute. They're yeah. He's got my cell now. I have his cell, and he said he'd be in communication with me whenever he hears anything.
And is he gonna reach out to them to find out?
Yeah, I told him. what I told him is, I told him what you said on the phone, and I was like, listen, I just got the phone with Dad. He said to get in touch with you. Dad said that he thought that Hubbard said that if I were to wait and go in the fall, then all of my, repercussions as far as GPA and everything would be amended, and I could start from scratch. And then he said, well, I don't really, he had a different understanding. But then I asked him, I was like, well, hey, can we go ahead and just ask him, say if I'm willing to lay off and come in the fall, can I start from scratch so that I don't have this GPA looming over my head?
Okay, so it's kind of hard to tell what's going on here, but after listening to this phone call several times, it sounds like Buster was getting back into law school, but not the way that he wanted. He wanted to be able to start fresh with a new GPA. And likely, he failed all or most of his classes due to the alleged cheating scandal back in 2019. It sounds like Buster not only wants Butch Bowers, the powerful attorney, to get him back in, he wants Butch to get him back in with a clean slate. We're pointing this out because it seems lost on them that he should feel so lucky just to get back into school. In the next call from December 5th, Buster and Alec are even more explicit about the stipulations from the school and how Dean Hubbard seemed willing to change them for him. This is the call where Buster mentions the firm and the need to have a high GPA if he isn't going to work there.
I spoke to Butch a couple times on Friday, and he was supposed to be getting in touch with Hubbard. He had gotten in touch with Hubbard, and Hubbard seems to, he just had, apparently Hubbard had to run it by like admissions and all this other stuff to, I guess, to be able to set the record clean or whatever, but I haven't. Butch is probably going to call me this week, I would assume.
So did Butch think that they were going to do that? Hubbard sounded willing to do that?
Yeah, Butch seems so. Butch said that he was, he said that he's cautiously optimistic.
About taking the restrictions off of you of making a 2.55.
Yeah, correct.
Now, if they do that, go ahead.
It seems to me like they have to, because they can't offer me to come back in the fall, and then I do everything in the fall, and they're like, well, I know what you did, but this is still your grade.
Yeah, you're saying you go make a 3.2, and they say, well, you still got this. That doesn't make sense either. Now, if they offer you that, Buster, to start fresh, do you think that's the thing to do?
I do think that's the thing to do.
I definitely think it's the thing to do.
Given the scenario,
I love it,
me not knowing if I'm going to go back and work for the law firm, my grades need to be as high as possible so that if I want a different job, I can get one.
No doubt. And that'll allow you to do that. I don't make up your mind till you know all the details, but I think that's a good thing.
We know some of these calls might sound a little repetitive, but we want to share as much as we can of these calls with you so you can get the full picture of our reporting. Generally speaking, the conclusions we are drawing are based on more than what we can pack into these episodes. But when it comes to these phone calls, you can hear Alec and Buster in their own words, repeating the same language over and over. And we think it's really important for you to listen and decide for yourself. For the next few days, Alec continues to check in with Buster on December 9th.
How are you?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm okay. Did you hear from Butch?
No, I texted him today, and I've called him once, and I haven't heard from him.
Okay. Good deal.
On December 12th.
Hey, did you ever hear anything from Butch?
I spoke to him last week, and he said he hadn't
What?
heard from Hubbard. And he said, I'm supposed to hear from him this week.
Okay. All right.
On December 14th.
Have you heard from Butch?
No, I sent Butch a text message today, and I haven't heard from him, but tomorrow I'll probably start, kind of bothering him more. I try not to bother him too much.
On December 22nd, Buster starts to get a little indignant about the situation. Now, we want to mention here that we're not entirely sure who is dropping the ball here. Is it Butch? Is it Hubbard? Does the law school not want the bad press if they readmit Buster? Or is it Buster? And if it is Buster, does this mean he has simply been appeasing Alec this whole time and isn't actually interested in going back to law school?
Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's fine.
Have you talked back to Butch?
Yeah, I talked to Butch on Monday, and he said that he's, working to get in touch with Hubbard.
I mean, shit. You're 2 weeks out.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to, I told Butch, I was like, well, look, man, it's not like exactly I can be told on the 31st that I go to school on the 5th. And he's like, I understand. He seems to think due to the delay that the
The fall situation is going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, because I'll just tell Humphrey, like, look, man, you fucked this all up. I can't come to school with 4 days notice.
I know, but you can't tell him quite like that.
Well, I mean, no, you can't tell me. I mean, I understand you need to be on the good side, but push comes to shove, I've got a letter that says I've been accepted, and they don't want that PR going out there. I mean, I got valid, hard copy proof.
No, I know, and there was something. I will tell you this. I think Butch is good at. I think he's as good as anybody at this.
So we don't know what he's saying about valid hard copy proof, or they don't want that PR going out there. But it seems important in figuring out what is going on here with Buster. And what exactly is Butch good at? And why won't he just say it? The next day, Buster finally snaps back at Alec.
Buster, have you talked to Butch?
No, I haven't been able to.
He hasn't responded to you?
No.
All right, you need to send him a text that says, hey, Butch, getting into a pinch here. Do you think we can find out something today? Classes are supposed to start on...
Now, for those that are lost, this is Buster trying to get in touch with Butch, who was supposed to be getting Buster back into law school under certain terms and, agreements or whatever. And so Alec is pestering Buster to get in touch with Butch, who apparently is not returning phone calls and don't want to talk. He's just over and over and over keep asking him, has he talked to him? And Buster have not talked to him. School is getting ready to start, and still Buster has no answers as to what his terms are about entering law school. Okay.
Something along those lines. Are you comfortable doing that or not?
Yeah.
All right. Well, you need to hang up and do that so he has time to call you back. Today being a Friday. I mean, Monday is third. Your classes start when?
Wednesday.
I mean, you need to send him a text today telling him that.
I mean, I'd be remiss to say that I'm pretty sure he knows.
Well, Buster, baby, I'm not trying to put pressure on you, but you just can't. I mean, you got to take a little bit more of a assertive thing and put a little bit of, polite pressure.
Don't assume what I do. You got no idea how many times or whatnot of the extent that I've taken to get in touch.
I don't mean to say that. I'm just saying he's coming up Wednesday. I mean, have you been putting pressure on him?
I mean, define pressure. I've been trying to get in touch with him.
You've been asking.
I'm yelling at him, saying like, "Hey man, if you don't respond, I'm gonna be pissed."
No, I mean, I definitely wouldn't say that. But I would text him if you haven't. Say, look, classes start on the 5th, or hey Butch, just following up again. That way you say, just following up again. Classes start on the 5th. Getting in a real pinch. Could you please give me a call?
On December 29th, Alec gives Buster one of his fatherly don't be bashful talks, and he again talks about how much Butch has been paid to do this for them, whatever this is. Are they paying Butch to be his official law school readmission advocate? Or is the money just to make phone calls to the special connected people at the top? Or is it something else altogether? Again, these calls are showing us that Alec still thinks he has enough power to work the system in his favor, even from jail.
Have you heard from Butch?
No, I'm sending a text. I've been telling you to do that.
You need to call him. You need to call him and bug him.
Well, I can't exactly bug him because,
Right, fine, he don't. And I don't think he wants to go back.
No, but he's already been paid to do this.
Yeah, well, this wasn't really part of it.
Hi, Nicole.
Sure it was. This is absolutely, he's been paid for this. You don't worry about this. He's been paid very well for all of this. I mean, this is part of that same thing. And, until they tell you they're going to let you come in the fall, you need to be planning on starting. When do they start?
The 5th.
Huh?
The 5th.
I mean, I hate to say it, but you need to be planning on starting.
There's just no way. I mean, I haven't been really engaged with that. There's just no way. And he should know that. Hubbard should know that. This is bullshit.
I don't know that they care. Try to call Bush tomorrow. Don't be bashful about it.
Well, I mean, honestly, if it goes back, I mean, I'm just going to tell them, like, look, I got to start the fall. I'll start the fall and have the penalties conceded because, I mean, I'm in no middle place to do it. I mean, I haven't thought about it once.
I mean, I definitely understand.
I mean, this is fucked up.
You know, the more pressure, the longer they wait, and you aren't ready, then, you know, then it's easy for them not to do it. So you need to at least act like you're ready. When you tell Butch, you know, hey man, I got to be getting ready for this. I need to know. You need to put a little bit of a very nice pressure on him tomorrow. Do you want me to get Jim to call him?
Ah, the nice pressure, an interesting term to describe influence and manipulation. Also, we noticed Jim Griffin is mentioned a lot when it comes to getting Buster back into law school. I have to wonder if Alec is paying Jim for that work too with the money he allegedly doesn't have. But anyways, we'll talk about that more in another episode. Then, on December 31st, Alec delivers the bad news to Buster.
He was supposed to.
Good morning, Slay. Pray that you feeling okay, sweetie.
Yeah, but I mean, I ain't got my service out here.
So you're back at Chief Jesse. Well, you need to try to call him. But he said that Hubbard's been out of the country. Just got back. He just talked to him, and that they have met, and that they have decided that they're going to delay your admission. Now, I'm not sure.
Okay, so now finally, Alec tells Buster that the school has decided to delay his admission. He had wanted to start in the fall, did not want to start in the spring. And so right now, you know, basically Alec is breaking the news to Buster that they're going to delay his admission. Okay, good, Slay.
Sure, what they can do that, but I'm not sure what we can do about it. You know, I mean, if you fight it and win, they say it's not in your best interest to start law school this semester.
You didn't want to.
And it's unfair for you to start in the fall.
So here, Buster said that he didn't want to go to law school in the spring, which makes that Butch payment an even bigger mystery.
So they're delaying you to the spring.
So Buster did not want to start in the spring. He wanted to start in the fall. They're delaying it until the spring. And to be honest, I think my honest opinion is the reason why they delayed his admission back into law school is because of everything that was going on with his daddy, Alec. Am I going in and out? How long I've been doing that, Fawn? Hold on. Okay, let me know if I continue, Fawn. Let me know if I continue going. The mama and the brother had been murdered, even though the daddy had not been. Can y'all hear me? Y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Let me go to my, because StreamYard is delayed. You can hear me, ebooks. Great. I don't understand what the. Yes, we can. Okay. Yes, we can. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Y'all let me know if I start going in and out again. I don't know what was going on. Okay. Thank you for okay. All right. So y'all can hear me now. Okay. All right. All right. Thank y'all. Oh, okay. Here we go.
But
Y'all be sure to hit the like button for your girl, okay? Also feel free. You said yes now, okay. Also feel free to hit the cash app and support the channel, okay?
I mean, this just got sprung on Butch and Jim, and trying to figure out what we can do to get you started in the fall.
All right.
So you weren't planning on starting in the spring anyway.
Didn't want to.
All right. Well, try to call Butch. He can give you a few more details. I mean, Buster, I don't even know what to say, man. I'm just sorry. But they seem to think that they can negotiate you starting in the fall, but maybe as an audit or something like that, just to get you back in the swing of things.
Helen.
I'm here.
All right.
So, are your friends there yet?
Yeah, we're gonna.
So, you know, I'm not. Would you rather talk about this when they're not around?
No, I mean.
Hey, Miss Lynn, good morning.
I just don't know what. I mean, I don't know how they revoke an admission. But here's the thing: do you want to pressure them for you to start this spring in 5 days?
No.
Without a doubt.
Yes.
Because I think Mike can do that. Now, I'm not sure that's in your best interest, because if you force them to let you come down.
I'm not mentally prepared. I'm not ready to go now. They fucked all that up for me.
What now? What'd you say?
I said,
Buzz?
hello? Yeah,
hey,
what?
What'd you say?
I said, now I'm not mentally prepared for that, and they've messed that all up now. I don't want to do that anymore. Hello?
I'm here. I know you're frustrated, and I mean, I feel like it's all my fault. I know it's my fault.
Alec Murdoch saying he feels like this is his fault is like a Category 5 hurricane returning to the island it just destroyed for some reassurance that we don't hate it. Buster, however, redeems himself slightly here.
No, not entirely. I share some blame in this.
No, I mean, I'll let you go. Go try to have a good weekend.
That's fine. I'll get in touch with him after the week.
He's going to call you, so try to look for a call.
All right.
All right. I love you.
Love you too. Bye.
Sorry this is happening.
After this call, Alec immediately calls John Marvin and asks him to keep an eye on Buster. Pay close attention to this call because it's very telling. This call shows us exactly how the Murdochs think the system is supposed to work for them, because Alec actually considers taking the school to court for rescinding on Buster's possibly ill-gotten reacceptance letter.
What Buster told me was they thought they were offering to start in the spring, in the fall.
Well, that's what we've been trying to do. But now it's gotten down to the last minute. They haven't done anything. Buster's not prepared to go. It's probably not in his best interest to go anyway. But if he fights their decision, what they're saying is they're going to delay him until the following spring.
Right.
And, Butch and Jim are going to try to negotiate him doing something in the fall, but, he ain't going to have any leverage. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be right what they say. It's just a shitty thing, and all this is because of me.
Well, what can I do to help? Is it anything? Do I need to communicate with Jim, Butch? Is there
anything you can do? Let's just say he could force them to honor the admission.
The original and go this coming semester.
Yeah, with all this pressure on him, and that's going to piss off the administration, and, they're going to grade him extra hard. Who knows what might happen. Right now, it's either spring next year or we do something to fight their decision. They're saying, okay, we're delaying his admission 1 year. It's in his best interest. It's in our best interest. and we're delaying him 1 year. We thought about the fall, but it's not fair to the other students for him to get to come in and start over.
Right.
So now, hopefully we can work something out maybe where he audits classes. You know what audit class is. You go to the class, but the grade doesn't count.
No, I didn't know that, but
And that way maybe he could get back in the swing of it in the fall and do, go to school, get back in the swing of it, redo those classes that he did poorly in, even though it wouldn't change his grade. It would change his knowledge base and make it better for him starting the second semester maybe.
right.
But the bottom line is, the only choice right now is on a Friday, New Year's Eve, classes start on Wednesday. So somehow Friday, New Year's Eve, get prepared to Monday, file something, get a court to enjoin the law school from denying his admission that they've given him, which I don't even know if you can do. And I don't know that that's in his best interest.
On January 5th, the first day of the spring semester at USC Law School, Alec calls John Marvin's wife, Liz Murdoch, and talks about where he thinks all of this went wrong.
Well, everybody's feeling good?
Once again, he calling his brother's wife to talk about what went wrong with the whole Buster situation. Now, like I said, and I say it again, it's some kind of sus about the relationship between Alec and his sister-in-law. I'm just saying. But let's listen.
I should have told y'all, but I didn't really think about it. But I got flustered when all that shit went on with Buster, and they changed at the last minute on that Friday. But basically, they were on lockdown because people were off, the weekend and beginning of all during Christmas and New Year's.
I gotcha. What do you mean you got flustered with Buster with what? About law school?
In law school. They screwed around and waited till the last minute. And anyway, I think it's probably not in Buster's best interest to go right now, but I was hoping for the fall, but they're still working on it.
Yeah.
But anyway, I was dealing with that all day Friday afternoon when I could use the phone, and then we went on lockdown we've been on lockdown a lot, but we went on lockdown for New Year's. I couldn't get to the phone to call.
We fought to get these phone calls because we knew how important it was to shine a light on Alec and what he was up to in jail. Over and over, the Murdochs and their legal team have told the public that they're just regular people, that Alec wasn't rich, and that the notion they're, quote, powerful or part of a quote-unquote dynasty is just not true. Once again, these calls are fact-checking their narrative. These calls are further proof that the Murdochs are not just regular people, and they are very aware of their power and how to leverage it. They just don't know, or they refuse to acknowledge out loud, that most of South Carolina does not have these same privileges, like in this phone call with Liz Murdoch.
This thing about how rich we are and how powerful we are, and it's just, taking a life of its own. I wish it was half truth.
Alec clearly doesn't get that everything he's been doing with Buster and Butch and Hubbard and Jim is exactly why, and one of the many reasons why, people say they're powerful. He really doesn't seem to get it.
While this is a story about the Murdochs, this is not just the Murdoch story. Buster Murdoch is not the only grandson or great-grandson in South Carolina who was born into a system that was especially built for him. In the end, at least right now, things didn't work out in Buster's favor. But there are so many things wrong with what we heard in those calls. We question why Butch Bauer's fee was $60,000. What did he do for that money? Make a few phone calls? And what about all of the kids that cannot afford a $60,000?
I feel like whatever the hell he was paid for, since they didn't get what they want. Now, he was paid $60,000 to make something happen. To make it where Buster was able to get back into law school when he wanted to. Apparently, that didn't happen, right? So basically, Butch made this money. He made this $60,000, and he ain't do shit. He just got a free $60,000. Okay, here we go.
lawyer to advocate for them. We also question why the university would entertain any such conversation with Butch about Buster's law school readmittance. Liz reached out to the law school on Tuesday and told them exactly what was in the calls. We asked them for an explanation or a statement. All that they would say is that Buster is not currently enrolled in the school and that he was enrolled only for the fall of 2018 and spring 2019 semesters. This sort of access and this sort of high-priced negotiating opportunity does not exist for most of South Carolina's aspiring attorneys. It is so hard for the people in this inner circle to see how different the world works for them in this state. The law school is in an incredible debt. It has a very low endowment because its alumni aren't donating a lot of money to the school. The University of South Carolina Law School scholarship program is nothing to write home about, and at $24,000 a year, the school's tuition is out of reach for so many students. The school also lacks diversity. These are the problems Dean Hubbard said he wanted to fix when he took over in 2020. Buster Murdaugh was given an opportunity that a lot of young people would drop everything for, and he blew it. In looking at everything that Alec Murdaugh has allegedly done and at the system that allowed him to get away with it for so long, at the heart of it is privilege and a lack of consequence. Every time Alec failed growing up, Randolph was there to fix it. And this is what Alec wanted to do for Buster. If the boat crash hadn't happened, he likely would have succeeded. And a lot earlier. By the way, did you notice how at no time did Alec or Buster discuss trying for another law school in a different state besides USC Law? They never did. Because to them, there is no other law school in no other state where their name would carry any weight. For the justice system to change in this state, the University of South Carolina Law School, one of 2 law schools in the state, has got to start recognizing this. We say this because the law school seems to be at the epicenter of where this corruption and unethical behavior begins, and it needs to be where it ends. We will be right back. On Thursday, June 16th, attorneys Eric Bland and Ronnie Richter hosted a beautiful event to celebrate Gloria's gift, a new foundation in Gloria Satterfield's honor that will bring joy and hope to Hampton County for so many years to come. I was honored to speak at the event. So before the event got started, Eric led me into a room off stage filled with Gloria's warm and welcoming family members. That moment backstage, hugging them and hearing them thank me and the team at Fitz News for our dedication to Gloria's story, that alone was worth every headache and heartache we've all endured in the last year. It was a beautiful reminder that the work we do on this podcast is so important. Out of all of the speeches, I want to share the inspiring and sincere words from Ginger Harriet, Gloria's sister.
On behalf of my sister Gloria and our family, I am proud to join them in announcing a non-profit foundation to honor Gloria Harriet Satterfield. Most of you don't know the struggles Gloria faced during her life and the hard work she endured not only to provide for her boys and herself. She had a full, pure heart of kindness and love for everyone she met. She was so much more than just a housekeeper for the Murdaughs, as she has been portrayed in the news. She was grounded by her Christian faith, which called upon her to live in the service of others. While we mourn her still today, of course you can see, we will honor her with this foundation to help others and cement her legacy as a person whose enduring faith inspired her to love and help others. A giving heart is a loving heart, and it's time we all focus on healing and sharing love. Our family has shed so many tears this past year, and to be certain, we have been betrayed, let down, and very saddened. After having fought the good fight for justice, we choose now to shift on the focus to making sure that Gloria's lasting legacy will not be that of a victim, but will indeed that be of a champion of love and charity. As we stand here today, we envision Gloria smiling down on us as we form Gloria's Gift Foundation in her memory of love and kindness. I will now share with you a few words that people share with me about their memories of Gloria. Gloria came from a large family. They filled nearly 2 pews with their family alone. They were a simple family with strong spiritual roots and were taught the meaning of dedication, loyalty, commitment, and responsibility. She was humble, and she was a Southern lady filled with gratitude and grace. She enjoyed talking to others and would always end with a hug and a smile. I remember her soft tone of voice filled with care and genuine concerns for everyone. I will miss running into her and catching up, and of course, those special hugs. Gloria's legacy will continue through her family.
Ginger brought Gloria's legacy to life in a way that really no one else has done. I really loved this part of her speech.
I could talk about Gloria all day. She was my best friend. She was honest, she was kind, she was caring, and a true friend. She was a hard worker and always saw the good in everyone. Gloria was a person of her word. If she told you she was going to do something, she did it. Gloria struggles, but always kept going. Well, I would either call her up or she would call me up and we'd say, Bo, let's go somewhere. She would say, well, I don't have the money, or I would say, I don't have the money, but that didn't stop us because whoever had the money at the time would pay for both of us. We were always there for each other through thick and thin. I miss her dearly and will never have another friend as loving and giving as Gloria.
Hey,
A
Miss
true
Tina.
sister and a true friend always. Gloria loved the
Miss
Lord
Carla, did I
with all
speak to
her
you,
heart,
sweetie?
mind, body, and spirit. Gloria also loved Christmas. I think she loved Christmas because she recognized that love itself is a gift, and we want one another to give to one another.
The foundation will provide Christmas gifts for Hampton County families who have struggled like Gloria. To donate, visit gloriasgift.com, and the link is in the description. So after leaving the event, I couldn't stop thinking about the Satterfield family, how generous and grateful and truly kind they are. It's not surprising at all that they are using the lawsuit money to help their own community. That is what good people do. But meeting Gloria's family also made me realize how horrific this crime really was. How
Okay, for those that and I'm pretty sure most of y'all who've been following me, that's in this chat right now, been following this from the beginning. So for those that may not know who Miss Gloria is or was, she's passed away. Miss Gloria was the Murdaugh family's housekeeper who passed away after supposedly, allegedly, falling up some stairs, tripping over the family's dog and falling up some stairs, and she eventually passed away from that. So that's who Miss Gloria is. Alec Murdaugh scammed her sons. He advised them to file a homeowner's insurance policy, to file a homeowner's claim against his insurance company when she fell and passed away, so they can have money to, survive or whatever. And he took it. He stole it. He never gave it to the 2 boys. And so, yeah, that's why he's locked up in this moment. Not in this moment as we speak, but as far as this video is concerned. He was locked up due to charges stemming from that. At the time, his wife and son had been murdered, but he had not been charged, okay? So.
Murdaugh steal from people like that. Every time we air some of the jailhouse phone calls, we get a little pushback. Like in the last week, a few people have messaged me that we should just stick to reporting the facts and leave him alone. So without even considering all the other crimes Alec is accused of, strip that away and think about the one that he is admitted to, stealing millions of dollars from the family of Gloria Satterfield as they were grieving the loss of Gloria. After meeting them, I have never been so certain that our coverage and treatment of the Murdaugh family was not only spot on, it was necessary. If you treat other human beings the way Alec Murdaugh treated people such as Gloria's family, you deserve every bit of scrutiny coming at you. You do not deserve privacy. You do not deserve the benefit of the doubt. You do not deserve sympathy. And you certainly do not deserve special treatment. And that goes for anyone who knew about this and helped him too. And speaking of that, just hours after the event celebrating Gloria Satterfield's new foundation, the Supreme Court of South Carolina issued an order to disbar Alec Murdaugh pending a hearing that was ultimately canceled. Now, to most of us, the Supreme Court ruling is anything but shocking. Alec is accused of and has admitted to some terrible crimes. He faces more than 700 years in prison, and there's a good chance he will never be a free man again. Of course, the court should take his law license away. However, to a lot of South Carolina lawyers we spoke with over the past few days, the decision is shocking because the Supreme Court did this on its own without a recommendation from its Office of Disciplinary Counsel, which really doesn't happen, ever. The order pretty much states that the Supreme Court has seen enough misconduct from Alec Murdaugh, and they don't need to waste any taxpayer time on an investigation.
Good morning,
It
Brandy.
appears like the confession of judgment in the Satterfield case,
You have
which
one
was
as
officially
well,
signed in May, was the nail in the coffin for Alec's legal career. However, attorney Eric Bland is concerned about this for a few reasons. We spoke with him on Tuesday about why he's worried that this expedited decision is going to skip over a lot of discovery, which could be a slippery slope for the process.
The question then is the public and is the bar entitled to a full explanation of what Alex did to lose his law license? And it's not just one matter. It's not the Satterfield matter. It's not just the Plyler matter. It's not the Pickney matter. It's not the Badger matter, not the Jenks matter. It's everything. It's, all the different things that he's done. And there's a lot that we don't know about. The Star Chamber of the
Good morning,
ODC,
B.
we have no idea what they're focusing on or what they've uncovered. We also don't know about whether they've uncovered things in his firm that other lawyers may have done, Mandy. I get it that we want action. We want things to happen. They seem obvious to us that he shouldn't have a law license. But the Supreme Court made these rules to apply to everybody, even to the worst of the worst lawyers or those lawyers that may have tripped and fell and had a substance abuse problem and may have missed the statute of limitations. And it doesn't warrant a full suspension, maybe a public warning or something like that. So anytime we deviate from rules, it scares me as a lawyer. And I get it. I'm not really sticking up for Alex here. I'm sticking up for the process.
Look, there really is not a whole lot of public trust in the South Carolina bar or the Supreme Court right now for legitimate reasons. However, as Eric Bland pointed out, the courts have ruled against Alec at nearly every turn of this saga. And as a matter of public trust, we need to know that the buck just doesn't stop here. That this just isn't the Supreme Court going after Alec to make an example out of him while failing to investigate all the other lawyers and judges who knew about this and either helped him or did nothing to stop him. As Eric Bland said, this is a pivotal time for restoring faith in our legal system, and we hope the Supreme Court does the right thing.
Hey man, listen, one of my favorite movies is Godfather. And Clemenza says, matter-of-factly, as he's, dipping and spooning the spaghetti, he says, Michael, we're going to war. We got to do it every 10 years. We go to the mattresses. It cleans it out. Well, this is an opportunity that the Supreme Court and the ODC can go to the mattresses. Let's clean it out. Why stop with Alex? Don't make him the scapegoat and publicly execute him and say, see, we cleaned up the system. No. Let's nurture Alex. Let's put some plant food on him and water him. Get him excited to start naming names.
Yep.
Because he didn't do this alone. He couldn't have done this alone. How has the system been rigged? Are there lawyers that are working together to fabricate cases or make them bigger than they are? Or are there judges that are giving a wink and a nod? Are there legislatures that are doing certain things?
So basically what this guy wants, and he's the lawyer for Gloria Satterfield's sons, her family. Hey, Sanjia, can't speak during my son to school. Okay, sweetie, be safe. He wants not only Alec to, take accountability and be punished, but everybody that assisted Alec in all of his shenanigans, all of his crimes, which I get. He's not the only one that was breaking the law. He's not the only one that was involved in this stuff, and he pretty much want them to get Alec to turn and start naming names of other people that were involved.
I'm just a dirtball from Philadelphia. Nobody tells me what's going on in the state house or in the court system. I mean, I got to get it through punching and fighting. But evidently, he had access to people and the
Hey, right, Chad, listen to that word. Thank you,
I never
sweetie.
had. I want to know what the hell's going on in our state, and this is an opportunity to do it. You cracked open the can with that can opener, and you and I and Liz and Will folks, and we're going to blow the lid off. We're not stopping. I'm not going to stop. You want to shut me up? You better throw a sock in my mouth.
But on Tuesday afternoon, as we were finishing up this podcast, we found out that the South Carolina Supreme Court canceled the hearing after Alec Murdaugh admitted to the allegations and did not contest the disbarment. But like Eric said, no one is stopping until we get answers, and this is not going away anytime soon. And we will keep asking questions and making noise until the South Carolina Supreme Court gives us answers about Judge Carmen Mullen, Chris Wilson, Corey Fleming, Butch Bowers, and every other person with a South Carolina law license connected to this mess. Stay tuned.
Mm-hmm. Baby, they want people to go down. Okay, y'all. So listen, that's it for the jailhouse phone calls. That was part 3. What I'm gonna do now, since we have some time left, and I gotta check and see if Trey set a time for a live. Let me see. Let me do that before I start this. Cause on tomorrow, y'all, we're gonna actually start the courtroom coverage. We're gonna start listening to the courtroom coverage. Okay, let me see something right quick. Thank you to everybody that's in the live supporting this hashtag content that matters. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate you. Make sure you hit that like button. Also feel free to hit the Cash App and support the channel. I don't see anything scheduled yet. I'm gonna text them. So with that being said, we have a little bit more time left. So what I'm gonna do now is there's this video that this podcast put out that pretty much explains why Alec Murdaugh. Because you got to remember, what we've been listening to for the past couple of days is phone calls from jail. And the reason why he was in jail at this time was due to the stealing of the money from Miss Gloria Satterfield's family. His son and wife had been murdered, but he had not been charged. He was in jail for something totally different. We do know that eventually he was charged, tried and convicted of the murders of his wife and son. So what we're gonna get into now, listen to, just because we got a little time left, we're gonna get into the reasons why he was eventually charged in those murders, how the charges came about. So with that being said, we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna listen to as much as we. Let's see who's joining. Here to go. What's up, Pedro?
I'm still in the break room laying down.
Hello?
I said, I'm still in the break room laying down.
Did you clock in?
No.
Good, because if you had clocked in, you would be riding the clock, sir.
You got up too early. The hell you doing up so early, Truth?
Troy, you know I always get up early. Don't get yourself together. Troy, I've been up. What the hell is wrong with you? Anywho, and why don't you have a live schedule, sir? Like, are you being lazy today?
Cause I just woke up. I'm still
it don't matter. You usually have your live schedule before you go to sleep.
Nah, I ain't feel like it. No, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't go to sleep last night.
Is baby paid to sleep or she at daycare?
Gone.
Did you have to say that like that?
Yep.
Anywho, the chain is telling you good morning.
Hello, chat people.
All right, y'all. So apparently Trey's being lazy. He's a slacker. So I got a little bit more time that we can spend on this. So what we're gonna do now, like I say, we're gonna start the trial coverage tomorrow. So what this is like an overview of why Alec Murdaugh. It says Alec Murdaugh to be charged with killing wife Maggie and son. And I don't know if I have a mod or somebody that can continue to drop this link for the Murdaugh Murders podcast. Okay, please drop the link for this channel. I absolutely love this channel. And yeah, let's listen to what eventually led up to Alec being charged in the murders of his wife and son. Okay?
I think I know who might have killed Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. And while these details are hard to fathom, and it's been a long time coming,
Thank you.
Alec Murdaugh should be facing murder charges soon. And this week, we should be closer than ever to the truth of what happened on June 7th, 2021. My name is Mandy Matney. I have been investigating the Murdaugh family for more than 3 years now. This is the Murdaugh Murders podcast with David Moses and Liz Farrell. So we're back, and as always, when we take time off, it has been a baptism by fire coming home. I won't lie and say that it was a huge surprise coming home to news that murder charges were finally coming against Alec Murdaugh. About a month ago, we were told that the Colleton County grand jury was set to hear evidence against Alec Murdaugh in the double homicide of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh this July. We were initially told it was going to happen last week. So Liz, David, and I packed up our podcast studio and were fully prepared to break the news while on vacation. Then, while living my best life, frolicking around a Jamaican pool with a cold pineapple drink in hand, I got a text from my best source in this case, saying something along the lines of, "Enjoy your vacation. It isn't happening this week." So the universe gave us the break that we really needed, and on Tuesday morning, Will Folks of FitzNews.com got the green light to publish the big news. Agents from the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, also known as SLED, as you all know by now, are scheduled to present evidence against Alec Murdaugh in the double homicide of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh this Thursday, July 14th, 2022. And that is a big deal. But like we said, this news has been a long time coming. We all feel like we've been waiting forever for this. So on Tuesday afternoon, I spoke with Will Folks about the breaking news.
I think it's something everybody knew was coming. I mean, over the last few months, we've been reporting, and you've been reporting on all the evidence that's been accumulating. In fact, we had law enforcement sources telling us as recently as June that there's a mountain of evidence implicating Alec Murdaugh in these killings. And so I don't think today was any surprise. I think it's just the timing, and certainly the fact that this was, almost immediately confirmed by the family, confirmed by his attorneys. I think that just goes to the credibility of that network of sources that both Fitz News and the Murdaugh Murders podcast have built up over the last few years covering this story.
Shortly before Will broke the story about the upcoming grand jury presentation Tuesday morning, law enforcement had informed the families about what was coming. Within 2 hours, Legacy Media began publishing their own reports. We knew they could not have gotten the story from the same sources we did, so we immediately figured it was coming from the Murdaugh camp, which is exactly right. John Marvin Murdaugh told the Post and Courier that he had been visited by SLED. Jim Griffin finally put himself on the record on Tuesday afternoon, telling Fox Carolina that Alec plans to ask for a bond hearing so that law enforcement will have to lay out the evidence against him. I don't want to dwell too much on this, but definitely want you guys to understand that when we point out how legacy media does this stuff, it's because they have been a huge part of why the Murdochs were so protected for so long. They continue to use the very same sources who obviously want to spin the story in a way that allows them to keep and grow their power. So back to John Marvin. Why did Fled feel the need to alert him and Alec's other siblings about the upcoming charges? This is a good question. South Carolina has a Victim's Bill of Rights, which includes a victim's right to be reasonably informed about an arrest being made in their case. But is John Marvin a victim? I don't mean to minimize his pain here because I know he cared about Maggie and deeply loved Paul. To our mind, though, the direct victims in this are Maggie's family and Buster. To alert the Murdoch family to Alec's impending indictment seems really tricky to us because, once again, law enforcement seems to be factoring in a family that just over a year ago they were investigating for obstructing justice in the boat crash investigation. This is also a family who doesn't seem to want to acknowledge its own power while doing everything they can to preserve their legacy and wealth. Then again, maybe John Marvin's role as Maggie's personal representative and Randy Murdoch's role as Paul's personal representative puts them in the victim category, which is a real sticky mess, and we'll talk more about that. Anyway, we're so glad that the murder investigation is finally winding down. Since last summer, we've repeatedly heard that these charges are coming. Finally, we can say it's happening and mean it.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, in late May, we started seeing this cycle.
So at this point, Alec Murdoch is about to be indicted for the murder of his wife and son, and SLED, which is the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, as authorities normally do, let the victims' family know that a suspect is about to be charged or indicted or whatever. They let the brothers of Alec know. They reached out to them instead of, I guess, Maggie's family. So this is what she's talking about right now.
It's happening this week. It's happening this Thursday, and every week since then, pretty much it's been the same thing. We go through the same treadmill of anticipation, and everybody gets excited. We start planning, and then, oh, no, it's not happening. But yeah, this week I think it was different because, first of all, everyone in the aftermath of that 1 year anniversary, when that didn't happen, I think people at that point knew, okay, well, it's not, no one's waiting on anything symbolic. They're actually waiting on particular evidence, and they're waiting on being able to present that evidence in a manner that they believe is going to be effective to get the indictments. And so we started hearing the rumblings a few weeks ago about the timing. And just as we got closer, it became clear just the specificity of the sources regarding, okay, it's not happening in Columbia, it's happening in Colleton. It's not going to happen the holiday week, it's going to happen after. And over time, that's, one or two sources, the chatter, you write it off, but then you start hearing it from more and more people. And then you start going to those credible sources. And you know as well as I do, these folks aren't the best bluffers. So if you've got something solid and you put them on the spot, you can almost feel it through the phone line, or even better yet, if you're having a cup of coffee with them, you can see it. But it became very clear over the last couple of weeks that, okay, this wasn't a drill. We'd been through the drill, but this wasn't a drill. This was actually happening. And again, we don't fire anything out unless we're sure of it. And again, having the family and the attorneys for Alec Murdoch confirm it so quickly, I think, once again, just goes to the credibility of those sources and how hard we've worked to build that network.
So we were originally a little suspicious about the state AG's office and SLED deciding to present to the Colleton County Grand Jury as opposed to the state grand jury, which has been handling this case from the beginning.
You're absolutely right. That's a huge question. Why is this being handled in Colleton County, where the Murdochs have been, rulers reigning supreme for decades, as opposed to the statewide grand jury, which has clearly proven that it's not afraid to take on the Murdochs? And I don't know the answer to that. And I'll be honest, the people that I've spoken with, those who are questioning it, have some really good questions. And I think the biggest question is, you've got statewide grand jurors who have been exposed to all this information, who have seen all of this information, and who, in addition to that, have seen all the other investigations into Alec Murdoch, whether it's the financial crimes, whether it's the obstruction of justice in the aftermath of the boat crash, which I think is going to be coming back on the radar here before too much longer. They've been exposed to all of this information. They've been provided with evidence related specifically to the homicide. So why are they not handling it? It makes absolutely no sense. And I do think that there is some concern in the Colleton County grand jury, the fact that they're handling it and not the statewide grand jury. But hopefully the evidence is so strong that, again, for an indictment, all you need is the probable cause. Again, it's not a court of law. It's not guilty or innocent. It's just a question of, is there enough evidence here to justify a charge? But yeah, it is concerning that it's happening in Colleton and not up at the statewide grand jury, which again has proven that it's unafraid of taking on the Murdaughs.
One of the key differences between the state grand jury and county juries is this. The statewide grand jury is tasked with handling investigations that span multiple counties, like the financial crimes, whereas the county juries handle crimes that clearly occurred in their own jurisdiction, such as murders.
One of the theories is correct. You're correct. One of the theories is that because the murders happened in a specific county, that the jurisdiction is exclusive to Colleton County. And I think the logic there is similar to the logic after the roadside shooting back on Labor Day of last year, which obviously happened in Hampton County. So those charges, he was sent to Hampton County for the bond hearing, et cetera. And so everything was handled through there instead of through the statewide grand jury. And I understand that. And certainly there is logic there. And if they want to be deferential to the local law enforcement, local prosecutors, I certainly respect that. But once again, you've got a group of people who have been tasked to investigate all of these crimes. And I don't see any difficulty in pointing to this double homicide as part of a broader criminal operation, part of a criminal network. We know that Alec Murdaugh was under investigation for these financial crimes right before the double homicide took place. Is there a connection there? We don't know, but there's certainly enough suspicion to warrant that homicide investigation being part of the statewide grand jury's investigations. And again, it just surprised me that this was taken out of their hands and sent down to Colleton County, where again, the Murdaughs have been ruling without opposition for decades.
Grand juries are secretive and confusing and a part of the criminal justice system that so many really don't know enough about. So I asked Will to explain the difference between a state grand jury and a county grand jury.
Yeah, I think the differences between a county grand jury and a state grand jury, I think you're looking at complexity of crime. And I think a statewide grand jury case is going to involve, like you said, multiple counties, but sort of a network of crime, not necessarily one particular crime. So again, what the statewide grand jury has been looking at with Murdaugh and what we've seen over the past few months as co-conspirators have been indicted on various crimes, as additional crimes have been filed against Alec Murdaugh, what we've seen is that you've got this pattern of criminal activity. You've got this various facets of criminal activity, and you've got all of that activity taking place across an entire region, the 14th Circuit there in the South Carolina Lowcountry. And so that's clearly a case that's tailor-made for the statewide grand jury because it's complex, it's broad, it has all these different facets. A county grand jury, on the other hand, it's going to be like John shot Tim or Brenda stole from Beatrice. It's a simple crime. It's something that's pretty easily documented as far as probable cause go. And it's not a big sort of involved process. So I understand, again, why you would take a murder out of the hands of the statewide grand jury if you want to show deference to the local prosecutors, to the local authorities. But again, the 14th Circuit solicitor here has recused himself. And basically now you've got attorney general's prosecutors going down to his circuit in front of his grand jury and essentially standing in his shoes to present these allegations against Alec Murdaugh. And again, it gives a lot of people heartburn, and I think it gives them heartburn for good reason. But once again, we just got to hope that the evidence is strong enough that any kind of doubt that anybody would have related to whether or not there's probable cause here, that would be erased.
And we'll be right back.
Speaking of evidence, we'll do a quick rundown of what we know so far. First is the high-velocity impact spatter that was apparently found on Alec's clothing from that night. We were told it could have only come from one thing, and that is standing over Maggie's body when she was shot. We know that investigators are going to be able to show that the weapons used belonged to the Murdaughs. And real quick, we can already tell from at least one report in mainstream media that one of the ways the Murdaugh camp might try to discredit investigators is by questioning the 2 guns, 1 man scenario. How could Alec kill Maggie and Paul using 2 guns? One thing to keep in mind is that the Murdaughs had a small arsenal at Moselle. Guns were
they're showing these guns. They're showing all the guns. Child, they got more guns, I think, than the United States Army. Child. They got had a lot of guns. I mean, I ain't talking about no little guns. I'm talking about like and I don't know guns like that. But yeah, these look like machine guns and Uzis and shit. They had a lot of guns
readily available to them. I think this will be one of the things that will become more clear after the indictment, but think of it this way. If one of the guns had 2 bullets, and those 2 bullets were used to shoot and kill Paul, then the shooter, who we can now say was allegedly Alec, can either reload or grab another gun. It's not difficult to explain. Okay, back to the evidence. We have also heard that Alec had gunshot residue on his hands. We know that Maggie was apparently lured there that evening by Alec and otherwise had not planned to be at Moselle. We know that the timeline Alec gave law enforcement has been highly questioned and that there is evidence discrediting his narrative from that night, including a video found on Paul's phone that shows that, counter to what he told SLED, Alec was at Moselle.
See, this just goes to my theory that this man was dumb as dirt. Like, honestly, like, I don't know if he was a criminal attorney, to be honest. Maybe he wasn't. But even though, he may not have been, he's still an attorney. He's still... And my thing is, how could you be so sloppy? Like, if you was going to commit these murders and try to get away with them, how in the hell do you still have blood spatter on you? How do you still have gunpowder residue on you? How did you not know that your son had been literally on a Snapchat or whatever while you was at the house right before they passed, and you said you was going to tell the story that you wasn't there at the doctor's office? Oh, okay, no problem, D-Truth. Do what you got to do. We hope you feel better, okay? Keep me posted. But yeah, I mean, honestly, how do you do this and leave all this evidence? Don't even try to cover your tracks. At this point, I'm starting to believe what they said, that you was a pill popper. You had to be a pill popper to be thinking this way. Like, you left all this evidence and thought you was going to get away with this. All right, let's listen, y'all. They're talking about the evidence.
Just before Paul and Maggie were killed. We're also told that there's other evidence that shows Alec's movement from that night, which again discredits his quote-unquote ironclad alibi. Then there are the financial crimes that he's been accused of. Those might speak to motive. At the time of the murders, Alec was a powerful attorney whose word was...
Couldn't have. That's what I say, Miss Carl. I'm not Miss Carla, but Virgo. He couldn't have. It was just too much. And then the fact that he lied about, going to the parents' house, which he did. He just wasn't there at the time he said he was, and he wasn't there as long as he said he was. I mean, he just did not cover his tracks. And being a lawyer, I would think that he knows about evidence and, what can be used as evidence, and he just wasn't thinking. So maybe the man was at this point like frantic and just felt like it was her. I believe that wife was finna talk. I honestly believe Maggie was finna talk on his ass. Hold on, y'all. Let me see something. Please, sorry, somebody pull it up. Yeah, I honestly believe that, the night of these murders, that he was at a point to where he felt like he had to get rid of them. It was something going on, something. Because he was just too sloppy, serious, too sloppy.
Simply accepted as the truth. No one knew then that he'd been allegedly stealing from clients for years. On Tuesday, he was disbarred by the state Supreme Court, meaning he's now just a guy.
And again, the fact that his wife wasn't even staying at the house, the Moselle house with him, and Buster and Paul was not staying. They had pretty much left the house. And Maggie was staying at the beach house. So even with that going, it was something, maybe she was going to divorce him. Maybe she was gonna snitch. I don't know. But he lured her to that house that night, and he knew what he was gonna do. He just ain't think it out. I don't understand. Now you say I don't believe he pulled the trigger, but I'm listening for evidence that I missed. Yeah, you've been stating that from Gate, but you did hear they just said he had gunpowder residue on him as well as blood spatter on you. Did you hear that part? So yeah.
Word means nothing. Finally, the last bit of evidence we know about was revealed to Fitz News readers last week, and that is the geofencing data. I'll let Will explain that.
Yeah, this was actually one of the more fascinating stories, I think, of this whole saga. Is just this whole debate over cell phone records of tower dumps and geofencing, of course, which is taking a particular time and location and then just trying to get a record of any devices or objects tied to GPS that have moved through that area. And it's a fascinating field, even outside of the Murdaugh story, because you go into Fourth Amendment protections, and there have been a number of court rulings recently which have called into question geofencing warrants. And courts have actually said, okay, you can't just ask for this information and receive all these records of people who, may have had nothing to do with a crime. You've actually got to have what they call particularized probable cause, which means, okay, there's something beyond just, oh, we think they were there at this time. You can't do that. It's not that simple. And so in this case, as you well know, like we've been saying, there's a mountain of evidence. You've got the forensic evidence, you've got the video and audio, and now we've got on top of that these digital records of where phones were.
I swear during the trial it was said that he'd been shooting. Oh, okay. Well, what about the blood? Because it wasn't like blood that could have been transferred from him, like checking for a pulse or anything like that. They say it was actual splatter. And, splatter comes from where a bullet enters the body and the blood, the blood splashes on you. So what do you think about the splatter, Nanya?
Moving at what time? And not only is that an evidentiary addition to this investigation, but it is also something that I believe helped law enforcement as they're putting together this broader timeline of what happened. And so I think we're going to see, once these indictments are unsealed and once the law enforcement agencies and prosecutors start holding press conferences and making announcements, I think we're going to see that this geofencing data played a huge role, not only as evidence, but in that broader timeline.
I think they said Maggie, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Maggie. Blood splatter. It was one of them. It was blood splatter from either Maggie or Paul, but I think it was Maggie.
May have happened at Moselle on that fateful evening.
Okay, so knowing the evidence is one thing. We still don't know what happened or why it happened.
Well, that's the big question, is what cards are going to be laid on the table from prosecutors and from investigators. How much are they going to tell us? What are they going to tell us about motive? What are they going to tell us about how it happened?
So now you said she think he was there, but he didn't do the actual execution. Okay, so are you possibly going with the theory that maybe the people that he owed money to may have done? Who do you think did it, Nanya? And he was like literally there when they did it. Who do you think did it? I have no trust in the government. They creative liars. Oh wow. Okay. Hey Jizzle.
And what are they going to tell us about whether anyone helped him? Because, again, there's a lot of speculation that he may not have acted alone. And, again, I haven't heard anything to suggest that any other suspects are being looked at. But still, there's been speculation about that. So they've got to answer some of these questions. And I think the other thing they've got to answer is what took so long. Here we are 14, nearly 15 months after the murders. It was very clear, again, in the hours after the murders, when the announcements were made that there was no danger.
Oh, you don't know.
It seems clear they knew what happened. So, again, Why did it take so long to get us here? Is it just because this guy's so powerful, so influential? He's got such, well-heeled attorneys in his stable. Is that what took so long? I don't know, but we do need those answers. And my hope is that prosecutors and investigators will not opt to keep those cards to themselves, My hope is that they put as many of those cards on the table as possible, not only because of the public's interest here, but because of the fact that there are so many victims of the Murdaugh family and of this criminal empire down there, and we all deserve these answers.
We do deserve all the answers, thinking back to last June, and also because he's a public figure, employed by the chief law enforcement agency in this area up until last September. We talked to Will about this. Remember, Will was the first person to stick his neck out and report that Alec Murdaugh was a person of interest in the double homicide.
Yeah, it was absolutely brutal in the aftermath of that report coming out. And again, it was 48 hours after the murders. And obviously we were all
lawyers in his firm knew what the fuck. You know what? They wanted him to pretty much, those lawyers in the law firm, they wanted him to, take the file, take all the blame, throw himself under the bus so they can pretty much get away with, whatever part they played in it. And apparently he has not snitched. Now we don't know what might happen in the future.
He doing the real gangster thing. He taking his charge. He ain't taking nobody else down with him.
Child, I'm surprised unless he's using the fact that he's not snitching to get something out of them eventually. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he's not snitching just to be a good guy. I think it's a reason why he's not talking yet. But like I say, with this dude, you just never know. So maybe in the future he may, because I'm pretty sure if he hasn't already, he's gonna file an appeal in his case. So maybe that's when he's gonna talk. I don't know. All this shit is weird, honestly.
Knowledge of the investigation and say, what's up, what's happening. And so, the same thing like this week, you get the information from the sources the best you can. And it was very clear Alec Murdaugh was who they were looking at, who they were focused on. And in fact, I don't believe I've ever shared this, Mandy, but I'll go ahead and tell you now. One of the things that I was actually authorized to go a step further as it related to Alec Murdaugh, I was actually authorized to call him my prime suspect. But in doing due diligence and in trying to show respect and to wait and not rush to judgment, my response was, well, let me ask you this. Is person of interest applicable? Is that something that is also true and accurate? And all the sources agreed that that was also true and accurate. Because again, I didn't want to rush to judgment. And so it was crazy. It was crazy to actually kind of show a little bit of deference to Alec Murdaugh. And then you come out and use this term person of interest. And everybody's like jumping down your throat for it. And I was like, what do you guys don't even know. You don't even know. I mean, we could have gone so much harder against this guy. But yeah, the reaction to that story was very negative. And as you know, there's this very entrenched legal community, and Alec Murdaugh's just a pillar of that community, and they're all in this clique. And so they recoiled at it. They were very upset. It felt like we were not just slamming Alec Murdaugh, we were slamming the entire profession. And so, yeah, there was a lot of how dare you? He's a grieving father. He's a grieving husband. How dare you? And, no, it's not about that. It's about, again, sources who know what the truth is, sources who we built up over years of relationships, and just being able to trust those sources and the information they provide us.
Remember the ironclad alibi. Shortly after the murders, FITSNews was first to report that the Murdaugh camp was telling people behind the scenes that Alec's alibi that night was indisputable. They obviously wanted to prevent any stories that would paint Alec unfavorably. But ironclad, it's a heck of a thing to say. Whenever I heard that term, I was like, yeah, okay, we'll see. Frankly, if Mandy and Will hadn't been doing the work they were doing last summer, mainstream media might have been fine and dandy with the unspecified quote-unquote ironclad alibi and done nothing more to push the story.
That's correct. The reports that we heard was that he had an ironclad alibi, that he was cooperating fully with SLED and with law enforcement, and that we were crazy to implicate him in any way, and that we were going to end up getting sued and embarrassed. And in fact, I think I put one of the quotes in the story this morning from one of those sources about, you're going to look like an asshole. Well, No, he never had an ironclad alibi. And I think one of the things that's going to be so important about all this digital data, the geofencing, the cell tower dumps, all that historical cell phone information, I think that's going to really, minute by minute, showcase exactly the movements, exactly where he was. And certainly, obviously, we also know there's audio and video, which goes against things that he and his attorneys have told investigators regarding the timeline. So, yeah, from the very beginning, I felt the ironclad alibi thing was bunk. But again, you asked, did I ever stop and pause? Well, again, we very early on could have gone much harder against him. And again, I settled on the term person of interest because I felt that was going to allow the investigation time to kind of breathe. And also, frankly, I wanted to hold out hope that, okay, all these people are telling us he's not guilty. He's a pillar of the community, et cetera. He had obviously snowed hundreds of people down there. Maybe he snowed me a little bit in those first minutes, because otherwise I think, when you get a source like that telling you he's a prime suspect, ordinarily you go with it. But we settled on person of interest because I think it was the responsible thing to do. And it ended up being, I think the right call.
So one major question in all of this as we move forward is whether the state attorney general's office will designate this as a capital murder case and seek the death penalty against Alec. I asked Will Folks about this as he's more familiar with the state prosecutorial procedures.
Well, in a case like this, you'd better decide quickly. And I think it absolutely would fit capital category if there's the sort of premeditation that we think might be at play here. And again, I'm referring to a financial motive or a motive to sort of paint a picture of...
Okay, if you think about it, he so-called set up the whole... because you got to remember, he did the whole... supposedly hiring his cousin or the guy to kill him, and this was after his wife and son had been killed. He did the whole thing about setting up the whole thing where the guy was supposed to kill him so Buster can get insurance money. So I don't know. I'm thinking out loud, y'all. But anywho, let's listen.
Okay, the family's being targeted by people. If there's a premeditation based on any sort of motive like that, a financial motive or a motive to sort of throw the scent off of this other investigation, the boat crash situation, I think if there's any of that, I think it's absolutely a capital case because there's premeditation, there's a clear motive, and as we've also previously reported, Liz Farrell reported this, that there is a belief that he may have lured Maggie Murdoch to Moselle on that fateful evening. So that's another factor that would absolutely go toward a capital case.
A couple of things to know about the death penalty in South Carolina. Needless to say, it's been pretty gruesome here. If you look at the statistics, you'll find that South Carolina has executed more than 300 people since 1900, and most of the people put to death have been Black. We haven't had an execution here since 2011 because of the pharmaceutical company's ban on selling the drugs necessary to do so. But earlier this year, our legislature decided to make the electric chair the default method of execution. And Alec's attorney, Dick Harpootlian, was key in having the firing squad added as an option. We have an inmate on death row who chose the firing squad as his option, but that case has been halted by the state Supreme Court while they decide whether the punishment is proportionate to the crime. Richard Moore is accused of killing a convenience store clerk in 1999. At any rate, a murder must meet one of 12 criteria set out by state law for it to be considered a capital case. The criteria are pretty specific. In fact, one of them is related to the murder of a solicitor or a former solicitor, and another is related to the murder of a family member of a solicitor or former solicitor. But that's not what happened here, obviously. In Alec's case, the AG could seek the death penalty because he's being accused of 2 murders. And this might be more difficult to prove, but the death penalty could be sought if Alec were trying to eliminate Paul as a potential witness against him in the obstruction case or the Mallory Beach wrongful death case.
I think he killed both of them because I don't know. I don't know about Paul, but I definitely think he killed Maggie. For one or two reasons. Either she was gonna leave him or she was gonna snitch. Or maybe both. And maybe Paul was just there. I don't know. But I guess we'll get into more of that when we listen to the trial coverage, y'all.
Here's Will with more about how the AG's office might pursue this.
Well, they couldn't do it for a long time because the only method of execution was lethal injection, and the companies that manufactured one of those three chemicals in that cocktail were not providing the chemicals. So only recently has that been ramped back up. But yeah, this would absolutely be a good test case, I would say. I mean, this is probably the biggest criminal case South Carolina has ever seen. And again, we don't even know, we're looking at these murder indictments or forthcoming murder indictments as a major development, and they are. They're a huge development and the highest profile component of this case up to this point, but we still don't know how deep this thing goes. We still don't know how many people are involved. We still don't know how many institutions are out there that played a part in it that need to be held accountable. So yes, it's a big moment in the case, but the fight for justice for a whole lot of victims continues. The AG's office can handle capital cases. They've got multiple attorneys in that office who are certified, ready, able, and in this case, I think they will be exceedingly willing to take on that challenge if that's what the decision is. But again, that decision lies with the Attorney General, Alan Wilson. He's going to have to decide whether or not to pursue the death penalty in this case. And I do not envy him for having to make that decision because that is a very tough call. My suspicion is that the Attorney General will face tremendous political pressure not to seek the death penalty. And I know you're probably sitting there thinking, wait a minute, this guy may have, in a very premeditated fashion with some very serious motivations, killed his wife and kid in cold blood. Why wouldn't you seek the death penalty? But again, we got to remember this guy was part of the club. He was part of the clique. He was part of that community of trial lawyers that wields so much power in South Carolina. He was one of them. And so I think the AG is going to face tremendous pressure from those people not to seek the death penalty. But I do also think he'll be facing a lot of public pressure from a whole lot of victims to go in the other direction and seek the death penalty.
We'll be right back.
We talked to Eric Bland on Tuesday about another sticky issue here. A very complicated issue, in fact. So remember, Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin were Paul Murdoch's attorneys in the boat crash case up until his murder. They are now representing Paul's suspected murderer, which isn't only awkward, it could present a conflict of interest, meaning they might not be able to continue on as Alec's attorney.
You all right? You all right there? You dropped down.
Leanne and Jim Griffin ethically represent the man accused of killing their former client. We asked Eric Bland this because he is one of the top experts in South Carolina on attorney misconduct. Here is what he said.
So, one, you have three things that you deal with here. The appearance of impropriety. Does it appear improper that Dick is representing Alex against his former client? The answer is yeah. Is that the beginning and end of the analysis? The answer is no. Number two, are they substantially related? The answer is on their face, no. Now, the complicated one is the third prong, which is, did they learn something in the course and scope of the representation of Paul, either directly from Paul or through their investigation, that if they walked into court to defend Alex on these murder charges, are they violating their duty of candor? Or do they become a material witness? Or, based on the rule that you just cited, are they violating duties to a former client?
We want to talk briefly about Alec's potential motive in the murder. One consistent theory for motive involves the Mallory Beach lawsuit, which could put Alec on the hook for owing millions of dollars for Mallory's wrongful death. So if, and this is a big if, the state focuses on the boat crash lawsuit being a potential motive as Alec's world was collapsing and Paul was the source of his family's downfall. Here is what matters when it comes to deciding whether or not Dick and Jim stay on the case.
did they come into possession of information from Paul that would actually show Alex's culpability? And are they going to now go before a court in the murder case and say, oh no, Alex had no motive at all and no intent at all. And, you know, there was no reason why he would kill his son. Well, if they're doing that and Paul had told them, or they came in possession during that defense of Paul from investigators who investigated, all of a sudden, wait a minute, Alex really does have implication in the Mark Tinsley lawsuit now, and had that because he bought him the alcohol, he obstructed justice, he tried to manipulate the police, he knew that Paul was using a fake ID. Now all of a sudden it starts to get problematic because now there is incentive for him to take out Paul. So it's not that Paul's estate would bring a motion to disqualify Dick and Jim. The state actually can do it. The opposing parties can bring a motion to disqualify the other side's lawyers. And
so basically what they're trying to do in this moment is get rid of his attorneys. Is it Dick and John or Dick and somebody? But they're trying to see whether or not they need to get rid of Alex's attorneys because there could be a possible conflict of interest. Not entrance. Did I say entrance? Conflict of interest, because they also represented Paul when it came to that boat accident, y'all.
Raise these issues. So it's really interesting. You know, on first blush, you say, oh, they're not substantially related, so Dick and Jim are fine for representing.
Oh, Dick and Jim.
You got to say, that's not where the analysis ends. The question then becomes, did they learn something in representing Paul that now if they go into court to defend Alex, they're violating their duty of candor to the court?
I asked Eric specifically, what would an example of information that Dick and Jim had that could present a conflict of interest large enough for them to be removed from the case?
And the answer is, Paul says, my dad knew that I had a fake ID. And he encouraged me to use it, knew I was using it, and didn't do anything about it. Remember,
now, why would Paul say that? I mean, honestly, like, I ain't gonna say, I'm not gonna put it on Alec, even though Alec needs to take responsibility for a lot of shit. I'm not gonna say that man knew that Paul had his brother Buster's ID. Went into that liquor store, like Alec really knew that he went into that liquor store, bought that liquor and all of that. What do you think, Trey? If you able to talk,
and we I think I understand why he ain't here no more.
So you think Paul was gonna actually roll on his daddy?
He just did. Talking about my daddy knew I had an ID. That's him not taking accountability.
No. That's the lawyer stating that's what Paul could have said to the lawyers.
Oh, okay. Okay, I thought they said Paul said that.
No. They're saying that to warrant a conflict of interest that he could possibly have said that to the lawyers. I don't see that though. I don't see that man, even though he didn't do shit about the shit that Paul did, because Paul was bad as hell. I don't see him knowing that Paul had that fake ID and knew he was going into that liquor store that night and driving that boat. Because think about it.
They did know they drank because it's on record that they drank in public in front of their parents. They
absolutely knew that they drank. Absolutely. Hey, love, baby. Hey, sweetie. They absolutely knew that they drank. That's a fact.
They know their kids drink. They know they getting it somehow.
Hell, they said they provided alcohol for them. Shit. So, I don't know. Let's see, y'all. Literally got 8 minutes left, y'all, and then we're gonna be out of here. I appreciate y'all for sticking around. Y'all hit that like button if you have not already hit the like button, please, and thank you. And feel free to send your girl a little cash out. Appreciation, okay? Support the channel. Here we go.
Mark's claims that he didn't supervise Paul properly, right? That would be motive. In a civil suit, if Paul was living, right? If Paul was living, and let's say he never got killed, Mark Tinsley sued Alex and Paul. Paul may say, his lawyer may say to Mark, in order for me not to have a judgment against me for the rest of my life that I'll never get out from under, I'm willing to tell you that my dad knew that I had a fake ID
encouraged me to use it. In fact, he sent me down to the store on many occasions to buy beer for a party. Now all of a sudden, it gets really sticky.
And speaking of sticky situations, when talking to Eric Bland on Tuesday, he brought up another potential problematic situation for the Murdaugh family. So remember, John Marvin Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh's brother-in-law, was made personal representative of her estate last year. This was apparently after Maggie's sister's name was scratched off as personal representative, and someone wrote Randolph III's name in her 2005 will. Which is also super weird because a family of lawyers should have known that handwriting on a will ultimately invalidates it. And eventually, John Marvin was made PR of Maggie's estate and Randy was in charge of Paul's estate. This means, as personal representative of Maggie and Paul's estates, Alec's brothers are in a position to choose their fiduciary duty over their own brother. A big question everyone has right now is, will Alec's family turn on him? And this PR situation presents a conundrum. Will Alec's brothers sue him for wrongful death as PRs of Maggie and Paul's estate?
Oh, wow.
Randy and John Marvin. The question is, who are the heirs now? Maggie has a will.
Why in the hell would his brothers be PRs over Maggie and Paul instead of her family? Like this, that's crazy. That is crazy.
You know how her stuff's going to travel through. But Paul didn't have a will. Paul died intestate without a will. So whatever assets he has upon his death would go to his mother, because he didn't have children, and he didn't have a wife. They would go to his mother and father, 100%. Well, his mother's dead, so that means it would go to his father. Well, now his father's charged with murdering his mother and murdering him. The state has a statute that says, no, he can't inherit from Paul, whatever Paul had. So now it falls to his next closest heir, Buster. So the question is Randy going to sue Alex for wrongful death of Paul?
Dang.
Now, if Alex was Bill Gates, hell, you would do it in a second. He would sue him because he has a duty. Listen, Randy, as personal representative, has a duty to the estate of Paul. He owes no duties to Alex. And he has to do what's in the best interest of the estate of Paul. The state of South Carolina is telling Randy, your brother killed your client, the estate. So we don't know whether Alex is going to have the money. And so Randy is going to have to most likely bring a wrongful death suit against Alex. If he's dispensing his duties to the estate, remember, he owes 100% duties to the estate of Paul. Nothing to Alex. He can't take Alex into consideration. When he accepted being PR for Paul's estate, he accepted it lock, stock, and smoking barrels. And so he's going to have to now make a decision if these murder charges are brought. Do I bring wrongful death charges against Alex? Now he may say, well, Alex is broke and there's no money left because Tinsley's going to clean the clock. Bland's cleaning his clock on Satterfield. Bland cleans his clock on Plyler. Vandenberg cleans his clock on Pitney. And then the state is going to seek retribution and they're going to make him, pay money to, whatever the criminal charges are. However, he still may have a lot more money because we think he's hiding that money.
Mm-hmm.
And we do think he's hiding money, for the record.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to know where that money went. Because the victims need to know. Because the victims deserve that. We need to know who is paying Dick Harpootlian and Jim Griffin and where that money is coming from. To be extremely clear, when murder charges do come this week, it does not mean this is all over. Not by a long shot. This is merely the beginning. For those of us watching this case closely, the news this week comes as no surprise. But we need answers about much more than who killed Maggie and Paul. We need to know why Alec wasn't arrested that night. We need to know why Duffy Stone's investigators were allowed on scene. We need to know why John Marvin was pictured with those investigators. We need to know what is going on at USC Law. Is this where corruption in our South Carolina legal system begins? We need to know how Alec was able to steal millions of dollars from innocent clients such as the Satterfield family. We need to know what role Judge Carmen Mullen played in the Satterfield heist, considering she is still ruling from the bench and deciding who gets their freedom taken away. We need to change the way judges are elected in the South Carolina justice system, which has proven in this story time and time again to serve as a playground for the corrupt and powerful. We need to know how the South Carolina Supreme Court, who finally disbarred Alec this week ahead of indictments, allowed such widespread corruption to take place among officers of the court. And we need to know what they will do in the future to prevent that. Alec didn't act alone, and most importantly, we need answers for the victims in this case. We need to know what happened to Gloria Satterfield. We need to know what happened to Hakeem Pinckney. We need to know who killed Stephen Smith. We need justice for Gloria, for Mallory, for Maggie, for Paul, for Hakeem, for Stephen. And we won't stop until we get answers for all of them. And to end this podcast, I do have some positive news to share about Stephen Smith. Stephen's wonderful and fearless mother, Sandy Smith, who has fought tirelessly for justice for the past 7 years, will finally be able to commemorate Stephen's resting place with a headstone and a ceremony this Sunday. The headstone means the world to Sandy, who wants me to thank every person who donated to the Standing for Stephen fundraiser. Last week was the 7-year anniversary of Stephen's brutal and still unsolved murder. We hope that someone out there listening has information, and now that the tides of justice have changed in Hampton County, that someone will come forward with evidence. We will be making noise and demanding justice in Stephen's case until we have answers. And those responsible for the murder, bungling the investigation, and ultimately obstructing justice answer for their crimes. Stay tuned.
All right, y'all. That's it on that. So that's a pretty much a little introduction into the trial coverage that we're going to start on tomorrow. So with that being said, we're going to get out of here. Looks like Trey is still being lazy, but he's going to go live at what? Was it 3:30, Trey? Central? I think it's, let me see. He's not answering, y'all. I don't know what's wrong with Trey. Oh, 3:33. So Trey will be going live at 3:30. Somebody drop Trey's link, of course. Drop his link. He's going live at 3:33 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay. I will be live later on this evening, continuing our coverage of the whole hashtag exposing setup queens, of course. And so the truth is currently at the physicians trying to get better, so y'all can send up a little prayer for him. Also, our Slay, our Lucius, of course, just so many. Y'all know the peeps. Y'all know the peeps. But yeah, we're gonna get off here for right now. Tony and I are gonna go out for a little lunch date, honey. And then hopefully we'll be back in time for Trey's live. So y'all make sure y'all meet us over there in State Land at 3:33 p.m. With that being said, shout out to everybody that joined this live and supports this hashtag content that matters. I appreciate y'all so much. Yeah, serious. I think so too. Buster, I think eventually gonna have the walls of justice coming down on him as well, girl. Thank you, E Brooks. Thank you, Matt. Matt TV, make sure you drop your link as well. If y'all have not checked it out, go ahead and check Matt's replay on his news segment on yesterday, which I think was hilarious, even though it was news. And it was some, news these days are so depressing, but man makes it interesting. He puts a sort of kind of like his little own, twist on it or whatever. So y'all make sure y'all go over there and check that out. Also, make sure y'all check out my community wall. Please, 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 please. Always check out my community wall. And don't just check out the last post. Go down, stroll down, because I share out a lot of you know, the content creators that I want y'all to go over and support, okay? So yeah, I'm going to end this live by playing my promotions for Miss Raina Pooh's new segment on her channel, which I am very proud of her for. It is lit. It is lit. It's going to be at this point. I think it's a new thing and it's absolutely wonderful. I think it's pretty much setting the sector off. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna end the live by playing the promo for that. Y'all make sure y'all go over there and check out Raina Pooh. Cam also dropped. Can't Handle the Truth dropped. Y'all make sure y'all go and check it out and support. Shout out to the True Simple. Shout out to State Gang. Shout out to my fabulous mods and also my monetary contributors. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I will see y'all later out here in these streets. Y'all be safe. Not only in real life streets, in these YouTube streets, honey, because they are vicious. Okay. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Shout out to Trey who joined the link. Who's probably still a little sleepy. I don't know what Trey got going on. But anyway, anywho. Love y'all. Shout out to my sis Flacy, who's probably, which I know she's probably in the bushes listening. And yeah, I'll see y'all later. I love y'all, sippers. Check out Raina's promo. All right, man. Make sure you drop your link so we can get the notification if you go live, okay? I'll be there. I'll be there. All right, y'all. Love y'all. See y'all later. Y'all be good. Love you, Slay.